Hello, hello, howdy, good day, guten Tag, as the Germans would say. Nuclear shutdowning, as they say. That means good morning. Let's go, I am the greatest to every troc. I am becoming Atrioc. Are you under the impression that because you've subscribed for 30 months that you are turning into me? I guess maybe, in some ways. Sorry about that. No, don't say yep. I'm literally live doing it. It's obviously not cocaine. Hello, good to see you, good to see you, good to see you. Hey, we had a first-time chatter saying yep, Coke. Where do you even get that from? Yep, Coke is not even mentioned outside of the stream. I don't know how you picked that up. Hey, Atrioc, I have to stop watching the latest best tweets on YouTube, but you were in the middle of a joke. Can you finish that here for me? Yeah, sure. Glizzy, glizzy, glizzy. All right. Now we're starting off with a fucking bang, dude. Hey, Big A, where do you buy Dude, I don't do cocaine. I just have a stuffy nose. Hey, Atrioc, currently buying a house. Thoughts about putting my down payment money on OKC tonight so my loan is less. Do you have a strong feeling they're going to win? Because if so, you should always follow that. My rule on sports gambling is don't do it unless you feel strongly that you know who's gonna win. If you feel it big enough, you should take out a loan. You should go all in. Hey, babe.
Are they making fun of your cocaine habits?
They don't have cocaine habits. You can't say it like that because They are making fun of my stuffy nose.
Stuffy nose.
Yeah. Where did I get that stuffy nose? You think?
From your deviated septum.
No, that's not where I got my stuffy nose. Do you think somebody partying it up, EDC, gives me all the germs in the world?
Big germ. Alright, I just thought I'd pop in.
Alright, well, appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I like your Gatorade shirt.
Gatorland, you mean?
Oh, sorry, it is Gatorland.
Why would you say Gatorland?
Well, I thought it was a pun. I thought it was from Gatorland, but it said
no,
Gatorade.
it's Gatorland.
It was like helping it.
It's like a shirt that I like.
Yeah, you are a big fan of Gators.
I love Gatorland. Thanks. Bye.
All right, bye, babe. Oh, yeah, I wanted to watch this today. Apparently, there's a new How Money Works video where they used my voice in the intro and then left a comment saying glizzy, glizzy, glizzy or something. Damn, this is crazy. It's like watching an Atrioc video live. Where did you think all that stuff was recorded? You're not like the first person to say this. Where did you think do you think I recorded it offline and the chat is added or what? If the chat was AI, that is proof that AI just isn't there yet. Do you realize that AI generated chat would be smarter? AI generated chat would like be on topic. Honestly, the one problem I had with Expedition 33, we can all say it on 3. 1, 2, 3. The French. That's right. It was too French. The exact same game, but you put it in a different country and suddenly it's incredible. But what am I going to do? I can't support the French. Bonjour. Yeah, I'll play Expedition 33 every year on May 33rd. God damn, dude. I hate being sick. I hate it. Why doesn't, dude, can you guys just apologize to Fauci already? You guys know Dr. Fauci created all disease in this country and unleashed it on us because he's mad at you because you won't be woke enough. Can you please just be woker? Can someone please just dye your hair blue so that Dr. Fauci gets rid of this disease? It's fucking crazy. I'll be woke, Fauci. I'll do it. I just don't want to be sick anymore. I had to record the book club today. The Lemonade Stand book club. Bro. Full disclosure. You didn't read the book? No, I read the book. That's my full disclosure is someone else didn't read the book. You have to find it to watch out. You have to watch it to find out. I read the book. Full disclosure, Aiden doesn't know how to read. So it was actually kind of hard to do a book report or a book club, I'm sorry, when Aiden is illiterate. I think it was interesting enough to listen to if you hadn't read the book, to be honest. You know, I'll talk about it a little bit because fuck it, why not? I mean, it's in a tier 2 Patreon. No one's gonna fucking see it outside of like, you know, a few thousand people. So here's this book. Let me talk about it. I'll just give you a little fucking. All right, this book's called The Price of Peace. and it's about the life of John Maynard Keynes, who's this guy, who basically made the foundational economic theories that most major developed nations use in some form today. This guy's like Forrest Gump of economics in that he is in the room during like every major meeting before World War One, during World War One, after World War One, before World War Two, during World War Two, after World War Two. He's that guy, dude. He's there for all the shit. And the first third of the book is about how much gay sex he has. Not kidding. Not exaggerating, even in the slightest. The first third of the book is about his life and about how much insane gay sex he has. He has orgy level gay sex on the regular. Then, shockingly, he breaks straight and he meets this woman who turns him straight. Well, I guess not straight, but at least bisexual. I mean, at least, you know, he opens his mind. So he marries this woman and is forever straight from then on. Well, actually, I think he cheats with a guy at the beginning of the relationship and then becomes faithful. This is not the focus of the book, but I'm just telling you the juicy detail parts. What's really funny about him, well, there's a lot of things that are funny about it. Again, I'm just telling you the sex parts real quick because I just thought it was so funny because they're mixed in so effortlessly between like, yeah, and then Churchill wanted to return to the gold standard and Keynes was like, yeah, maybe, but we can't do it at that price ratio. Oh, by the way, at the same time, Keynes was trying to fuck his new wife, but he was still gay. So she put on man's pajamas to like get him in the mood. That is like actually in the book. It's just so funny. You know, it flows like that. I found it to be quite a fascinating book. I really enjoyed it. And it made me reevaluate. You know, I probably had a more negative impression of Keynes going into this book than I did afterwards, where I thought he was a very interesting guy who lived quite a life. If I were to put it really, really simply, the idea of Keynesianism is when times are bad, stinky, recession, oh no, the government should print money, borrow or print, lower interest rates to stimulate the economy, to get aggregate demand up. The idea is if you have an unemployed person and you take government money and you give them a job, even if that job is just digging a hole in the ground, then that person now has money to spend. It gets back into the economy. It starts roaring it back to life. Things are good. And if I'm being honest with you, this is one of the big things we discussed in the book club, but like one thing you'll notice if you look at real life is that this is all people took from this. This is all that governments took from this guy wrote a lot. He wrote like a lot of theory. It went a lot in depth, but this is the main thing people took and they call it Keynesianism. But, you know, at the very least, there was another part to it, which was when times are good, he was like, all right, you know, this is obviously true. Like in the Great Depression, we should borrow and spending and things. But when times are good, you should save, raise taxes, and increase interest rates, increase rates. So like everyone in all governments in the world looked at this and said, ew, yucky. No, we'll just do the first part. We'll just do that first part. That first part sounds fire. In fact, what if we did the first part in both times? That'd be fucking based. Then we'd always be green. It's like, you know, I love to eat the candy. I don't want the vegetables. That's just one of the things I discussed. And like, there's so much more to this man and his philosophy. And he really wasn't just like a boring numbers economist. He really thought about economics as like a very human field and how it impacted real humans. In practice, much of what has been taken from him and his ideas is like this idea of like tools the government has when times are tough. Different levers you can pull when shit looks bad. And so I question myself whether Keynesianism is possible in real life. And I think if we followed his advice and it's much deeper than this. I'll get that. If we follow this advice, I do think it would probably lead to a more equitable, prosperous society that reduced downtimes. But I still am more of a guy that is like, you cannot trust politicians with the credit card. I was like that before reading this book, and I've my eyes have been opened a bit. This guy has strong arguments, but I still have that core part of my belief system, which is that politicians, if they use the credit card right, it can be beneficial. But I don't believe they ever will, which is why I'm supportive of things like some kind of standard or a debt break or something that limits their ability to borrow from the future and make the lives of the young hard for the old's benefit. When times are prosperous, that is when you would raise taxes. That is just never done. It doesn't matter what party, really. Nobody does that. It's so unthinkable to be like, yeah, things are going good, so we're going to raise taxes. Even in America, in our best times, we only raised taxes when things were terrible. Does Keynes or Marx have the better theory? Listen, I'm not a fan, but I don't want to critique it without having finished my reading. I would love to do a clip on why I personally am skeptical of Karl Marx and Vladimir Lenin specifically. Specifically their two ideas and how they worked out in practice make me skeptical, especially with knowing what we know about how humans respond to these incentives. But what I'm trying to get across, I feel like when people, it's so wild how the internet's gotten that if I criticize Karl Marx, well, I must fucking want poor people to starve. It's like I've been reading so much lately, and I've been trying to think. I think inequality is the great problem of our time, and I know that many different incredibly intelligent people have written solutions that they think might work. And what I've been trying to do is look at the real world and see like what actually works. And where I land, I've heard this, I've made this speech a million times, and I'm actually kind of tired of making it, but it's so important to me that I'm going to say it one more time. What I currently stand is like, and this is from reading this book and The Great Leveler and Capital by Piketty and all these books, is like, I think you might say the Nordic model now or the US model in the 40s to 70s, which was kind of like high top tax rates, a prosperous union membership, but still the wealth creation comes from free markets and innovation and lots of companies competing. Also, strong antitrust enforcement to make monopolies break up. These are like the components I see of like the best solution for a middle class. By the way, I want to say something that sounds obvious, but is kind of hard for people online to understand, which is that there has been no utopia in human history. In fact, our periods of like peace and stability are relatively rare in all of human history. Like most experiments or most governments or most empires, they all end in disaster and failure. They all go poorly. And so these few multiple decade periods of like relative peace and prosperity are worth studying because they don't exist normally. And a lot of people make it sound like it's so easy. If we just do this, well, then we're good. People smarter than all of us have thought about these problems and come up with solutions that often didn't work or stumped them. And so it's kind of reductive to be like, oh yeah, I got it figured out. I'm a fucking 24-year-old Discord kitten with an anime profile picture. The solution is just this. It's like, come on. No, you don't. You don't have it figured out. Open your mind a little bit to the fact that perhaps there's more beyond what you've personally studied or listened to. But that's where I'm at now, and I think it's going to evolve as I read more. On the subject of Marx, I read the Communist Manifesto in full. I just wanted to, because I think I would be critical of it, and so I wanted to read it before I made up my mind. And there's a lot that I disagree with, but what I particularly liked, what I think me and Marx could go handshake emoji on, is estate taxes. If anyone's watched my content for a long time, I am so pro estate taxes, like heavy ones. He has this general concept of like heavy estate taxes, and that's probably 100% to him. That's probably 100%. But to me, you know, a high, even 80% estate tax is like totally reasonable. I think one of the biggest corrupting things in society is deeply inherited wealth. Even someone as obscene as Jeff Bezos, you might say. I find Jeff Bezos' grandson being a billionaire forever. Dude, I'm dying. I'm dying. He's killing me. He's killing me. I find the Walton family to be much more damaging to the social fabric than Sam Walton himself being rich in his time. So we got to combat capitalism then? Well, listen, I think I'm disagreeing with you, but I think when you talk about socialism or capitalism, the problem is that nobody agrees on definitions. What you call capitalism and what I call it might be entirely different things. And then we talk past each other and then nobody's happy. And often we agree on a lot of things, but because of our terms, there's no progress. What I would say is all human systems, all of them, every human system, including, you know, you can look at 1940s, no, not 40s, 50s, 60s Russia. You can look at China under Mao. You can look at all systems, right? This is kind of from the book Great Leveler, which is that all human societies tend to, and this includes the ones I'm talking about, the socialist ones and the capitalist ones, they tend to have inequality rise over time because human beings, no matter what the game is, find a way to, they adapt to the meta. Every system has built-in entropy and they adapt to the meta. They have a hierarchy. They have an elite class. It's just people exploit the system. You know, it's very silly to imply that like the inner circle of the Communist Party in Russia during Stalin's time did not have an extreme advantage over the common people. They got, you know, it might be like a situation where all housing is free, but for a regular person, you're waiting 20 years to get a shit house on a list, and someone close to the party gets an incredible one in a short term. It's just, that's just how things, the power tends to concentrate. And so you have to fight it. It's always a fight against entropy. Yeah, I think you have to fight the bad parts of any system. And that's why I've been leaning towards this like guardrailed capitalism, kind of like what they have in the Nordics, where, you know, there's billionaires in Sweden. Sweden has billionaires, but Sweden also has high top tax rates and a strongly funded social safety net. So that if you try a business idea and fail, you still have healthcare, you still have schooling, you still have, do you understand? And I think one quote that is like really important for people to understand and drill in is that Winston Churchill one about democracy being the worst form of government ever designed, except for all the others. I think you should have that. No matter what system you like, you should think that about your system. You should understand that every system sucks. Every system has deep, 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 deep weaknesses that are exploited by human beings who are trying to rise up in it. And so no matter what system you decide to fight for, I don't really care. You know, it's your choice. Understand that if you think of it like as a utopia, you're going to fail and you're going to be sad, and people are going to be sad and starve. What you have to do is think of it as like, this is the best thing we got, and we have to fight, we have to punch it, and we have to like work our hardest to make it palatable, to make it work for real life. Because this is the way humans are. Like, listen, it's a modern marvel that we even have these periods of stability, given how much of human history is filled with poverty and war and disaster. And